Shiraz, welcome and thank you for joining us today. So we obviously all know you as a very successful dentist, but recently you've started your own racing team, Khanage Racing. We love to see what people in dentistry get up to outside of the profession. So how did this all start? How did you first get into racing?
Well, firstly, Tamara, thank you so much for the kind invitation, and thank you to Dentistry and Seb particularly for getting in touch. I'm really delighted to be here and sharing this story. Funnily enough, a story I thought I'd never be sharing. Yeah, Carnage Racing. Where do I start, really? I suppose the first thought about racing ever was, perhaps in, I don't know, year 4 or 5, where your teacher will ask you what's your dream job, and untainted by the world and family and all of that stuff, my hand goes straight up and I was like, Formula One racing driver, without any no one else had even thought about it, and I was straight in. Long and behold, obviously my life didn't take that path because education was quite critical, and with racing particularly, you probably have to do karting and these sorts of things and be in that from a really early age. So it was never a door that really opened for me, but it obviously stayed there in the background. I've followed Formula One for years, and a really interesting opportunity came up and presented itself this year. And rather than I'd secured no funding, no anything, I just took a chance, and I thought, if ever I'm going to be able to do this, now's the time. And it wasn't the time at all, which I'll later lead to. But I just said, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it, and let's see where the rabbit hole goes. And long and behold, we're here. So yeah.
Amazing. So it's obviously been on your mind for quite some time. What made you finally take the plunge this year to set up a team?
So interestingly, there's a group of us that tend to go on track days quite regularly. So for those, I'm sure people know this already, but I'll just clarify. When you enter the world of motorsport, I mean, there's the competitive side, which is racing, but you can often, pay to go on a track and just drive at high speeds, obviously, but in a relatively controlled environment amongst other cars within certain rules. So for example, we'll go to Silverstone, you'll do a track day, and you can obviously overtake on the straights, but you can't overtake into corners for obviously safety reasons and so on. So me and about 4 or 5 others have been doing that since about 2016, and having done that year on year, enjoyed it and felt like you were progressing, I started feeling that there was a pull for something more. And for those that may know, obviously competitivity in terms of sports and other professions or disciplines or whatever is kind of a big part of who I am. Not necessarily because I want to prove I'm the best. In fact, I've got no interest in that at all. Actually, I love being able to sort of stop check where your skills are in relation to the current demographic within that certain specialism or field. And the more I was doing track days, the more I was finding out that, or finding that feeling that, is there something more? I mean, is there something competitive that I can do in this? And this year, I just thought to myself, you know what? It's absolutely the wrong time, but there are people that I've been doing driver training with, I've been doing lots of simulation sessions with, and they just said, look, is it worth a shot? Is it worth a shot just to see where you'd stand? And I just thought, and typical me, yeah, why not? Why not? We live once, let's give it a go. Let's just see where I stand. And obviously my racing coaches, or driver coaches properly named, had seen something in me to see if I would benefit from obviously trying to compete. But obviously I didn't know at all. And as per typical me, I just thought, yeah, let's go for it. Let's see how far the rabbit hole goes. So that's how it all happens.
Excellent. Yeah, amazing. No, well, good for you. And how difficult is it really to set up a team, and what does that process look like, and what do you need to get started?
I mean, there's lots of ways that you can go about these things. I mean, my team, if you want to call it that, in essence, relies on infrastructure and support from adjacent people within the industry. So, for example, mechanics car maintenance, all of that. That's dealt by one team. My driver coaching and supplying of the cars dealt with another team. So there's basically, is it any different from running a dental practice? I guess you've got people within your own specialisms. You do your bit, and then you call on other people to join part of this team to be able to provide a service or compete at a level. It is quite hard in the sense that, in essence, my team is focused on me as a driver. And I lean onto supporting organisations to be able to provide the infrastructure to allow me to race. So you can go racing with your own car and have no team support, but you very, very quickly find out that actually, and as I may touch on later, in my first ever race, on the first day of testing, I had a mechanical failure. The engine had totally gone. So if that was my own car, there was no way I was going to get out. Because I had a team around me, because there was support, they were able to get a loan car from another client that was able to be used to be able to race in my first race. So it's all about having an infrastructure and network around you of people that are better at that stuff than you, and leaning on them and in essence paying for their service, really, to be able to maximize your weekend.
Nice. Yeah, it takes a whole team.
Sure,
So this year
does.
you are racing in the Porsche Club Championship. Sorry?
Yeah, no, sorry, it was a bit of a delay, but yeah, it always does. It always does require a team.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So this year you are racing in the Porsche Club Championship in the Boxster Cup. So can you tell us a little bit more about this championship, this category? What does it entail, and what do you hope to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, the Porsche Club I've been part of since, again, 2016, and I've been doing various track days with them for a long time. And actually, it was a guy called Ian McLaren Rowe who was the chair of the whole club, and it was he was the first person who's like, "Why are we not getting you racing?" And I was like, it's a bit of a weird thing just to come out of the blue and say to someone. I mean, there's like 300 people here, and maybe you're saying it to a lot of people, I don't know. But he had said, look, we really need to get you into this. And the Boxster Cup, which is what I feature in, in essence, in the Porsche Club Championship, there are three categories or classes. The class one is the sort of premier class for seasoned racers that may have been doing this for 10, 15, maybe 20 years. Class two is for intermediaries, and class three is, even though there are very experienced drivers, it is in essence for newcomers, or it is considered the slowest category, I guess is the best way to put it. And for me, I had no race experience before. I've had no competitive driving experience. I'm not going to throw myself into the deep end. I want to gauge my ability amongst those that, inverted commas, have similar experience. That being said, there are people with a lot more experience in the cup than me this year, who've been doing it for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But it's a great entry-level opportunity to be in a rear-engined car, so that has a different set of balance and things. And things like parts, if things don't work out, cars as well, as I found out subsequently, are quite accessible. So it seemed like the most, inverted commas, cost-effective, as well as risk-averse sort of cup to go into for my level of experience. So, and Race Drive, which are the team that run my car, they already had a car pre-prepared, who were already the people that were giving me driver coaching anyway. So it kind of just meshed together to be the perfect fit.
Perfect. And you already have the backing of some very generous dental companies. So who are your sponsors?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say a big thank you to them, because I think this is an important part of the story. I had committed myself to the season, not knowing I was going to get any sponsors. So I said to myself, you know what, I'll fund the season myself, but if I can make 50% of the fees for the season, I'll be delighted. And it so turned out that I got the whole season in essence with sponsors, and I want to give a very, very big shout out to all of them. So my primary sponsor and the prime sponsor for the team are Dental Focus. So Christian Joshi and his team were absolutely all over the idea of being able to sponsor a race team. Action, they're on my t-shirt as well. What are the chances of that? Obviously, Action, who are a dental distributors company and do lots of things, and I lecture with them as well. Were also very, very kind to want to support this, and that was Stancy, who's I've got a very, very big soft spot for. She's really lovely, and she's really helped me through bits of lecturing as well. So big shout out to Stancy and her team. But we've also got Prestige Dental, who are people know them for occlusion. They've obviously been fantastic, and a massive shout out actually to Lucy Gavitas, who's again a lady that's very, very close to my heart. She's been responsible for taking me out to different places to lecture and to learn and grow as well. So the whole team at Prestige have been wonderful. Oroscoptic, so Michael Reichel has been lovely also. I've done lecturing for them, and in return they've sponsored for the race season. Who else? We've got GTS RS Simulation, who aren't a dental company, who are responsible for my driver training, and FTA Media. Am I missing anyone else? Sculpt, which is in essence my company as well, that sponsor it. But that's it. Yeah, so they're my dental sponsors, and I'm really, really grateful because ordinarily you wouldn't necessarily think that this would be something they would want to get involved with, but they did, and I'm really grateful because perhaps the season wouldn't have worked out as it has. So thank you so much to them, and I look forward to another great season with them, hopefully.
That's impressive. That's amazing. And now you've also started your own team merchandise line as well. So what does that consist of, and what inspired you to start your own line?
You know what's really funny? I mean, that's a complete. This is, and I was speaking to Seb about this as well. This is a typical Shiraz thing. So, right, I want to do this, and then I spur off into this completely parallel universe of idea that is really detracting from what I need to focus on. I always digress all the time in my life. But I've always been into formal fashion and all that stuff. And I like presenting myself in a certain way, and it's really weird because I was talking to Paul again from Prestige, so big shout out to Paul because they were at my race weekend last weekend. I was talking about this. Whenever I want to present myself at something, I always want to present myself as well as possible within the confines of that discipline, field, or profession. And so when I'm lecturing, I always like being very, very formally dressed. When I was obviously at Selfridges or doing tailoring for Ted Baker, I was always very, very formal, and I liked looking very, very unique and iconic as in my formal style. When I started braking, I wanted to have a very, very specific style of how I present myself. And when I started this racing line, I was like, oh, well, obviously I need to look smart and have my own team gear. And again, a big shout out to the sponsors, because your team gear would look pretty crap if it was just one logo. But actually it looks great because I've got all the supporting companies on the arms, on the, across on the back. So it looks much more of a team effort with all of these people involved. So I started off and got in touch with a company that I know from up north near Leeds, and we did some designs, and just typically me, I was very, very pivotal and key to those designs. Like, no, don't like that, we need to have this and this, and I sent all of these drawings and really weird sketches of what I wanted it to look like, and they made it happen. So we've got a line of t-shirts and long sleeves at the moment that I honestly, tomorrow, I didn't think I was going to sell any of them, right? I made all this stuff, and I was like, well, who's even going to buy this stuff? And I thought to myself, when people come to race weekends, you go through the buzz of it, you want to have something to remember it by, they might want to buy something. And I got to my first race and I'd sold out all of my gear. So I had nothing to sell on the day, which I didn't expect. I didn't expect at all. But it's a funny old thing, isn't it? And so just a bit about sponsors. A part of my sponsorship package to people is that depending on the tier that you choose to sponsor, I invite you to race weekends. I allow you to be on the team merchandise and apparel. You obviously have a prime spot on the car, on my race suit, on the helmet. All of these things I offer as coverage, as well as social media content and all of that stuff. But again, if it wasn't for sponsors, I don't think I'd even be able to do the merchandise line because it wouldn't look that great. But it's only because of them that I've been able to get support. And I'm getting loads of contact from people right now. I mean, I just got messages last night about, oh, can we sponsor your next season? Which, again, I have to pinch myself sometimes because I don't even believe it, really. So yeah, I'm really grateful, really grateful.
That's incredible. So, serious question for you now. You have a young family, you're a successful dentist, competitive dancer, and now a racing driver for your very own racing team. Where do you find the time for all of this?
I mean, that's like the £1 million, I'll say not dollar, £1 million question, because time is always the thing that is always going to suffer. And for me, what has been really interesting with COVID and the pandemic and everything is competitive dancing had to take a bit more of a backseat because obviously there was no competitions really. So I still train in dancing, but my frequency of competitive endeavours has quite significantly decreased. Um, and you know, having a physical outlet or creative outlet is really critical for me to be successful in, or attempt to be successful, or driven in other things. And keeping training and doing competition still, but much less frequently, is really important to still keeping my mental balance. But what you're talking about is absolutely right. And if it wasn't for my understanding wife, kids, family, my parents, understanding parents, brother, sister, wife's family, all of this wouldn't be possible, because at the end of the day, the one currency that's most important to us, that is always going to be constantly diminishing, is time, right? And you know, my wife particularly is incredibly supportive of any endeavour that I've ever wished to be part of. And if it wasn't for that, and if I was by myself, or if I didn't have someone that wasn't so understanding, you can understand these things really start pulling away from you as a being. But when we had in essence got engaged, my wife already knew what a big dream of it was of mine, and never really knowing, or probably guessing that I would never be able to do it. And when the doorway and opportunity opened, it was amazing, because she was like, well, we've got to do this, right? And it's so lovely because it's like she's like, we've got to do it. It's not just, oh, you're going off to do your thing. It's we. And you know, I don't know what lucky stars I've crossed, or what good things that I've ever done in my life to have received such a wonderful spouse, but I can't be grateful to the world and up above enough for such a supportive family for something like this.
Well, it sounds like you have an incredible support system, which is so important. And what are your future plans for your racing team? What do you hope to achieve?
No, what's really interesting tomorrow, I had a good friend of mine's, Andy Action. Another shout out to Andy Action. I mean, we actually do loads of other projects. He's not really involved in the racing at all, but we do loads of other projects together. And I've got a lot of time for him, because he's a great human being and a good individual, and a very successful person as well. But we were having a discussion, and he sent me a message. He's like, seriously, Shraz, I mean, it's so, as you can see, I've got a couple of trophies, because in my second race weekend, we got a double podium. I got a second place and a third place, which again wouldn't have expected. So he sent me a very, very lovely message, to say, I mean, that's nothing short of amazing. And I don't know if I was going to talk about a weakness as me as a human being tomorrow, it's that I'm really weird with, like, I mean, praise is a lovely thing, and I don't want to not be praised for anything good that's done, but I don't really respond in the way that sometimes I might sound like I'm being a bit dismissive of praise, but I'm not. I just like being driven to the next goal. And he said, you know, it's nothing short of amazing what you've done, and my response was really, really clear. And you know, sometimes when you say things to people out loud, it really makes sense as what your true inner core is. And I said, you know what, Andy, even racing or getting involved in racing, it's like every part of my life. You know, you first humble yourself. You're learning a new skill. You humble yourself to be open to learning new knowledge. You drive and you graft at that to become the best version of yourself, doing so without any anticipation of success or a result. And you put pure blind trust and faith in the process of the hard work, because the results and all of that will come. And so the reason I said that is because in answer to your question, I have no hope for any achievement actually. The only true achievement, and it sounds obviously quite candid, is that I just want to achieve the best that's within my ability. And I can promise you, those back there, I never anticipated that would exist in my first season of racing. Definitely not my second weekend. I just never thought it would come. But I have a true understanding of what it takes to learn from those that are better than you, those that are professional, attaching yourselves, getting mentoring from people that are successful. I mean, does it sound any different to dentistry? I mean, it's almost exactly the same. any awards or accolades that you've achieved within dentistry. I didn't anticipate for them. I just had faith in the process of working hard. No anticipation of success, and if it's meant to come, it will come. But that's half the question. The other half of the question: future plans for racing. I've got great plans for racing team. We're going to be running in a higher class category next year. I hope to join the Porsche Club, the Porsche Championship, which is run by Porsche AG, as in the company. In the following seasons after that, I hope to be running multiple cars so that I can have more drivers that run as part of my team. And actually, one thing I've already just started is with a neighbouring team, we're running driver coaching, so that basically anyone that wants to enter the world of driving racing, we give them the appropriate support network to be able to grow in that field. So yeah, loads of and that's only the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's loads of plans. As you can imagine, my mind's like a spider web of ideas. So I've got lots of ideas, but they're the imminent things that we have started on that have been received really, really well. So that's where we are with that. But I really wanted to push home that message about, if you want to achieve something, goal setting is a really good thing, but sometimes pure faith in the process and the results will take care of itself is, I think, almost more important to me, weirdly. So yeah.
That sounds like an incredible outlook, honestly. That's great. That's a great point. But good luck with everything in the future of your racing team. I'm sure you'll have many, many successes as well. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. It's been a pleasure.
No, do you know what? And thank you to dentistry.co.uk, the team, Liana, Seb, everyone at Dentistry and FMC have always been so supportive of any endeavour that I've ever chosen to do. So a huge thank you to all of you guys, and keep doing the great work. Our industry needs support of companies like yourselves, so to keep the communication up. So thank you so much.
Thank you.